Evening and welcome to the regular board meeting of the St. Peter School Board. It is Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. We are in the Governor's Room at the Community Center. First thing we need to do is call the meeting to order. Let's start with Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We need to consider and adopt the agenda, which is before you in paper and also in the board book online.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The agenda is adopted. Kimberly, do we have any requests to speak? All right. Next item up is to approve the consent agenda items found starting on page 3 in your board book packet. Would entertain a motion to approve or to call out any individual items within the consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda. And the
I'll
cost,
second that.
okay.
And I have a question.
Yes.
Towards the end of the agenda, we are approving the hiring of Saints overtime staff. And I notice the ones that resigned were just from the Saints overtime staff, and they were hiring high school Saints overtime staff. So that's what I was wondering. Is there a difference, or?
I think we're going to get an answer here.
That's a great question, Mr. Kaut. We are hiring high school students to be aides
Okay.
in those rooms. They'll always have an adult with them. And so this is allowing us to provide some real world job application for our students, as well as saving a little bit from having to hire so many adult staff members as well. But we will be seeking out adults to be with each one of those students.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We do have a motion and a second. Good question, Mr. Kaut. Any additional discussion points or questions?
I guess I would just want to, in keeping with the, kind of what we've done in the past too, with Keith Hansen having the 34 years as the head wrestling coach, being a very remarkably long time to be a coach, and just wanted to point that out. He's obviously touched a lot of students in those 34 years, for sure, so that's a long time. I didn't know Mr. Hansen had been here for 34 years. So, thanks to him. Really, great hire, great hire.
Other discussion? Discussion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is approved. Thank you. Next thing up, we have a special guest. St. Peter High School student Ethan Harbitz is our student spotlight. Come on up. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Ethan.
We're excited that we finally got Ethan on a free night.
Yeah.
Mondays were bad, but I'm excited for you guys to meet Ethan Harbitz. He's just a 9th grader with us this year, but we've been hearing about him since you were about a 7th grader, I think, because we've got a very I'm going to call it an elite committee at the high school, the WAC, the Weather Advisory Committee. It's an unpaid, but very elite group. So we had been hearing from his middle school teachers that we were getting his updates, and they were always really impressed. And also, it's a fascinating interest. And so a lot of us are actually like subscribed almost to his weekly weather updates. When there's an impending storm, or if there's a storm, we get several updates a day, and I think it's very interesting that you found that. I know he's a storm chaser. I'm not sure how I feel about that. So that's, I think, what you'll probably have the most questions about. But other than that, too, he's an amazing singer. He was in the honors choir. He was a soloist at the spring concert as an 8th grader. I'm not sure what happened at the middle school concert, but anyway, we were really excited to get him up at the high school, and it's been really fun getting to know him over the year.
Yep.
I'll let you take it away with how you got into your interest in.
Sure, yeah. So, I'm essentially interested in the study of meteorology because it's an extremely complex science, and the thing is we don't know a whole lot about it. It's something we can't really control, unlike a lot of other aspects of life. So I've been forecasting for the upper Midwest and specifically south central Minnesota for 7 years now, since I was 8 years old. I've been on KUIC in Mankato several times to forecast the weather. I do storm chase when we do have inclement weather, and I've seen several tornadoes, which is pretty interesting. But currently I forecast for about 100 people in the city of St. Peter and about 300 people elsewhere across Minnesota, the Dakotas, Wisconsin, and Iowa.
I have shared several of your forecasts with the superintendent
Awesome.
before there's a storm coming. Yeah.
I'm interested to see, do you look at the different models for forecasting?
I do, yeah. That's one of the only things I use, actually. Essentially, these numerical weather models take into account previous meteorological events as well as, current observations and stuff. It's along with a lot of algorithms and analogs and stuff, and it puts it into essentially a simulation of what the weather will be. This is what all meteorologists use to forecast. Every meteorologist will use these weather models. It's a free service to get these general weather models, and that's what I use. There are several aspects of these weather models that I use, and there are about 30 in total. And when you take essentially the outputs from every single one of these models and take essentially the average, you get a pretty accurate forecast, and that's what I do with mine.
I could have probably used you the day that we started 2 hours late and nothing happened.
Yeah. That day, I remember the night before I had forecasted about 4 to 6 inches of snow, but the gradient was so tight on the northern end, and I saw there was just a slight shift south, and usually when you see that in the weather models, it's probably going to continue. So I backed off on my snowfall forecasts. Yeah.
Like, dang it.
Gradients are fun, that's tough.
Yep.
How long every day do you take doing this?
Yeah. So.
Time for school.
Yeah. Plenty.
Yeah.
I've been able to maintain excellent grades.
Yes, it is.
So essentially, I wake up, I look at the weather models for the first time before school in the morning, usually around 7 a.m. And occasionally I might do a forecast in the early morning, but most of the time I'll do a forecast for the St. Peter area during the first half of school, just for the general day, especially if there are any important weather events, like I did one this morning because we're having mist and rain today. I do one every Monday for the entire week, or rather the school week. But then I get home and I continue to look at the weather because weather changes very rapidly, and without basically constant updates and monitoring the weather models, I can't be sure what's going to happen.
Ethan, how far out will you forecast?
Yeah, that's a great question. Usually I forecast about a week out at the very, very most. I forecast more general weather patterns for an entire season. In fact, at the beginning of spring, I forecasted that it would be a slightly above average precipitation and slightly cooler spring, which has been planned out and followed through so far with that forecast. So that's about as far out as I can make a general forecast. For a specific forecast, about 48 hours.
Okay. May I put you on the spot for long range? As an old farm kid, always interested in what the growing season is going to be like.
Yeah.
So, any idea what the summer will be as a estimate?
Yeah. So for this summer, it's probably going to be above average temperatures for one. We've seen that essentially every summer now since around 2010 due to global warming. We continue to see above average temperatures basically every month or almost every month consistently. But for precipitation, I'd say it's probably going to be drier than normal. That's what I would guess, as we're in more of a neutral pattern. There's El Nino and La Nina, which are the two main patterns. I'm sure you guys have heard of them. El Nino generally brings drier and warmer weather, which is what we're anticipating. We're anticipating, excuse me, the return of La Nina, or the La Nina pattern by next winter, which could bring more snowy and cold weather, although we haven't had much snow for the past 2 winters, so I don't know exactly how that's going to lay out.
Fascinating. I could ask you questions for hours, but I think the rest of the group would want to move on. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I got on your email list, but I did, and I find it very entertaining and very informative. But I want to know, who's your driver for your storm chasing?
Yeah, so I do not have my driver's license yet, so
I'm hoping you have a licensed driver for that.
yeah. So my parents,
I was hoping you were gonna be
either him or my mother take me storm chasing.
Nice.
And we basically photograph interesting weather phenomenon, as well as provide updates, because usually we're chasing in this area and people watch from this area. So it's as well a better way to spread information, because people listen to warnings more when they know something is actually coming. You can say there's a threat of severe weather for the day, and most people probably just brush it off because we have a lot of those in the spring and summer. But if you get an actual picture of a storm headed towards one area, they'd be more likely to follow through with taking shelter.
Very interesting.
Yep.
So is this an ideal career path? And if it is, like research, media, like where do you want to go with it?
Yeah, so that's pretty interesting. There are quite a few different types of meteorologists that or rather careers in meteorology that are available. I was planning, and might be still planning, to join the National Weather Service as a forecast meteorologist. The National Weather Service employees basically provide information to broadcast meteorologists on TV. They issue warnings and watches. They're the ones who will issue like blizzard warnings, tornado watches, etc. But recently, as you guys probably know, hiring has become a bit more sporadic in the National Weather Service and other federal programs. So I might consider being more of a media meteorologist, either on social media or broadcasting with a more private company.
Could always try and get on the Twins. They have a staff of meteorologists to help them with
Yeah.
their
Really?
games and that.
Cool. Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for being
Are we
here.
going to introduce?
Oh, yeah.
Would you like to introduce your dad?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So this is Joshua Harbitz. He's my father.
Yeah. Welcome.
And storm
And
chaser.
storm chaser. Yes.
And you should send how to subscribe to your stuff to the
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, if you guys have a notepad in front of you,
Yeah.
my email is EHARBITZ @ STPETERschools.org.
Cool.
So you can message me at that email, and I will add you to my forecast list.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just, I don't know how to describe it, but I do not forecast during the summer, as it's mainly for school staff. That's most of my forecast.
Your WAC committee, apparently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that as well. That's most of my forecast viewers, the school staff in St. Peter. So there'll probably be a week where I'm still forecasting here, and then I'll pick back up in September
Perfect.
on email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah.
We still chase storms during the summer, just,
I do chase storms during the summer.
Yeah. Awesome.
You take individual requests,
Yeah.
go on vacation.
Yeah. Can we do a ride along?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. That was fascinating.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right, we'll move into action items. First thing up is we need to consider acceptance of gifts, donations, and grants.
There are two donations that have come forward this month, and we'll recognize those. The first is a $32,372 donation that was received on behalf of the estate of Frank Fredland, and is to be used to support the athletic programs at St. Peter High School. This is the final donation from the estate. As you may recall, Mr. Fredland was a longtime teacher and coach for the St. Peter District. Activities Director Shay Rohrkassie continues to work on finding a way to make the incredibly generous donation to be part of something special that Mr. Fredland would be proud of. So we're thankful for that donation from the Frank Fredland estate. The second is a donation of $22,651.65 that was made to the school district by the Natalia Lopez and Larry Taylor Educational Scholarship Trust. This donation is to go towards the annual Lopez Taylor Scholarship and is to be used for the benefit of students who are first-generation members of their family to attend a post-secondary institution, or students who come from socioeconomically disadvantaged community. We're grateful for the continued support and assistance given to our St. Peter Public School students in looking to further their education. So I recommend your acceptance of the gifts and donations as presented.
Thank you.
I so moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Just a thank you to both families for the incredibly generous gifts that will directly impact students, which is great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Discussion. We will proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you again to our donors. Item 2, consider approval of agreement with the City of St. Peter for the School Resource Officer Program.
So you're being asked to approve a 2-year agreement for the City of St. Peter to provide a school resource officer to the school district. This agreement is very similar to agreements in the past. We are thankful for our great working relationship we have with the City of St. Peter, the police department, and in particular, our school resource officer, Officer Hughes. The only difference from previous agreements is there is a clarification made in the agreement that it was added as to the SRO's access to student information or data. What that means basically is the only access that the school resource officer has is if it's a part of what's called a legitimate educational interest, which would be in assistance to the principals of carrying out duties requested by the principals. Otherwise, there isn't access to student data. So I recommend your approval of the school resource officer agreement for the next 2 years. Questions? You want to make a motion first? Or?
I'll move.
Okay. We have a motion. Motion in a second. Discussion, questions? Yeah.
Just curious, on Article 2, 2.1, and 2.2, talks about 62% of the of the time, and that's, I'm assuming, just on a pro rata share.
62% of, so which, say that again, Ken,
That's on-
give me the
actually on
specific.
page 24, bottom of page 24, 2.2.
Yeah,
The bottom of the page
yeah,
there.
yeah, 62% of their time, and then, but we also pay 70% of the cost of the program. So that essentially is the 36 weeks, 90% availability, which equals 32.4 weeks. But the school resource officer is available really anytime there's a need, and communicates with us regularly at all times of the day, night, weekends, et cetera.
So if Officer Hughes is not available, there are other officers that
Yes.
are.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
I would add too that we've met, the school board and city council met a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now at this point. We heard from Chief Groko that it's a mutually beneficial relationship for both the city and the police department and St. Peter schools, so.
I would add too, I think that relationship built between the school resource officer and those students is invaluable, even after they graduate.
Dr. Olson, is he on call to go to MVET?
Yes.
So do we charge MVET anything?
We
for
are
his
charging
service?
MVED starting next year. It's part of our, if you may remember, that's part of our budget adjustment plan.
Any further discussion?
He's the right personality for that role.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to think of the right way to say
Yeah.
that too. I was gonna say, we definitely have the right person
Yeah.
in the right seat,
We
in the
do.
right bus. I remember somebody saying that once.
There you go.
I didn't say it in the right order, but
Discussion, discussion, discussion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. The agreement with the city for the school resource officer program has been approved. Thank you. Next up, consider approval of agreement with the city of St. Peter for the school cultural liaison program.
So this is something that you also discussed at your joint city council, school board meeting. This would be the first time there's been an official agreement with the city of St. Peter, where this is the other direction. They're providing some resources to us to access our cultural liaisons, in particular with work that our liaisons do with families and youth in getting registered for youth activities, swimming lessons, navigating the city transit system, et cetera. So I would recommend your approval of this agreement. I'd also recommend that you review the financial condition of the agreement at the end of the first year, which you're eligible to do. There is one slight change in the agreement, and it has to do with the 6.7. In this particular agreement, you have it's to the city, to the St. Peter Police Department, attention Chief of Police. That would be to this, instead of that, it would be to the city administrator, Todd Krafke.
in terms of the amount per year, I mean, was that just, we were just kind of grabbing at something to start out with,
That's
or?
exactly it.
Okay,
And that's again why I think it's good to review it and say, so how did it go? How much time did we actually spend?
okay.
You know, we didn't have any real concrete data to share.
Fair enough.
I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Discussion, discussion, discussion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We've approved the agreement with the City of St. Peter for the School Cultural Liaison Program. Next up, consider approval of hiring the middle school principal. Dr. Graff.
Members of the board, we wrapped up our SPMS principal search on May 6th. The search included 2 rounds of interviews, had an incredible pool of candidates, humbling to see the high-quality candidates that want to come to St. Peter. Pleased to recommend Jessica Butel for the position. Jessie rose to the top of that pool because of her proven leadership at the middle level, her knowledge and passion for middle level education, and just her overall demeanor will be a great fit for the middle school. If I can give you just a brief review of her background. So she comes to us with 14 years of experience in middle school or public education. Her experiences range from both the general education or the traditional setting to the ALC. She's been a paraprofessional, special education teacher, dean of students, and most recently, the assistant principal at Dakota Meadows Middle School in the Mankato Area Public School District. She has a bachelor's degree in PE and health from Slippery Rock University in Pennsylvania. She's from out east. She has a master's in experiential education from MSU Mankato, her certificate in LD and EBD from MSU Mankato, and her ed specialist degree from in educational leadership from MSU Mankato. We're very excited about the opportunity to work with Jessie, so strongly recommend her for hire.
Thank you, Dr. Raff. Would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I will move the approval of the hiring of Jessica Butel, am I pronouncing that properly, as middle school principal.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I do have one question, if I may. Dr. Graff, could you explain to me, and it's outlined to some extent in the materials, but the PEAK program, could you expand on that just a bit?
Yeah, so my understanding of the PEAK program was kind of the bridge between general education and special education. So an experiential education project-based program designed for at-risk students to keep them out of special education.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Yep, and she designed that and ran that for Mankato Area Public Schools.
Impressive.
Any further discussion?
Excited to bring her over from Mankato.
Yeah. Discussion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Welcome, Mrs. Butel.
Thank you.
Awesome. It's a superintendent who just made his first hire. Next up, consider approval of candidates for graduation.
Yes, you have a list of tentative graduates who, pending their being able to meet all of the graduation requirements set forth by the state of Minnesota and by St. Peter Public Schools, will be graduating next Friday evening at 8 p.m. Note that it is tentative. We're still hitting the end of a grading period, so there's always a chance that they won't all be there on Friday.
We connected with the class officers to transfer the activity account.
Great. Oh, have we or did we?
Have we?
Yes.
Okay.
I move to approve list of candidates for graduation for this year.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Excited to be there next Friday night.
Great. Hopefully you can all be there
Yeah.
next Friday.
Discussion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We've approved the candidates for graduation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As a footnote, meeting at 7:30 in the conference room next to
Conference
the high
room,
school
yep.
office. If you cannot make it, please let Kimberly know.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks. Item number 6 on the agenda, consider resolution appointing Ken Rosso as a trustee for the MSD-LAF Plus Fund.
The MSD-LAF is the Minnesota School District Liquid Asset Fund. And Ken, it has a portfolio of, what's the amount of money that typically flows through the fund?
It's somewhat seasonal. but much of that's tied to construction season because a lot of the funds are utilized, invested, and then drawn as construction process proceeds. But it ranges from about 2.2 billion to about 2.8 billion. That's with a B.
With the B.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. And the MSBA has asked that you formally support Ken's appointment as a voting trustee of the fund. A resolution for approving the trustee appointment is included in your packet, and I would recommend your approval of the resolution. And as a reminder, again, it is a resolution.
Mr. Chair?
move the resolution.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second.
I was just going to volunteer to step out of the room.
Oh,
So,
you're good.
I think we're okay.
once, yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah,
We got past that.
yeah, you're okay. Got a motion and a second? Any further discussion? Thank you for your willingness to serve.
Yes.
My pleasure, thank
Yeah.
you.
Any further discussion? Discussion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. This is a resolution, so we'll need to go around the table. Ms.
Aye.
Rosbach? Mr. Rosso?
I will abstain.
Ms. Dewey?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Cow?
Aye.
Mr. Dixon?
Aye.
Ms. Barnes?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you very much. I've been to one meeting and greatly enjoyed it.
Great.
I certainly have things to learn, but looking forward to it.
Thank you for
Good.
representing
Yes, thank you,
us.
Ken.
Yeah,
Be a great representative on that.
yeah.
Thank you, I
Thank you.
appreciate the opportunity.
Item number 7, consider approval of a memorandum of understanding between Community and Family Education and the Department of Recreation and Leisure Services. Ms. Skinner, hi.
For allowing me to share some of the information with you. We
Yeah.
have a really strong partnership with the Rec and Leisure Services Department, and this memorandum of understanding really addresses the services that each one of us will provide so that we can maximize our resources without duplicating programs. And our organizations are really committed to eliminating barriers to participation, supporting academic achievement, providing positive recreational and social opportunities, and then also encouraging leadership among our younger learners. One of the ways that we do this with the Recreation Department is by providing funds for their Exploration Recreation Program. This program operates in local parks and it is free. It is a great program. Last summer there were over 800 children that participated, and our funds help defray some of the staffing, activities, and supply costs that they have. Our funding also helps support the Volunteer in the Park program, which you may know as the VIP program. This fosters leadership skills, and it is offered to children who are ages 10 and up. And last summer, we had 54 students that participated in this valuable program. Additionally, we provide funding that helps offset costs for after-school enrichment for youth. This is to help reduce some of the costs of participant fees directly for those students to things like early release day activities, flag football, traveling volleyball, and babysitter training. And during the school year, we had 535 students that participated in those activities. It's really great to be able to work so closely with another organization that has the same guiding principles that we do. As you look at our memorandum of understanding, I wanted to assure you that the services offered by each organization are consistent and our funding levels have not changed from previous years. This is a working document that John Stutzman and I use on a regular basis to help us with making program decisions. And I'm really fortunate to work with him and his staff. They are, they really understand, and we have a lot of the same feelings about let's just create opportunities for kids. And how can we do that? How can we work together to make those things happen? I think we have a great relationship with that department, and it really makes value for our community when two organizations work so well together. Do you have any questions regarding the memorandum?
How did it ever get arrived at why we pay them?
It's really, this goes back a long time, doesn't it?
It goes back to Nancy Penn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and what we were really doing is trying to maximize our resources. We were both getting funding, and sometimes we were duplicating the kinds of programming that we were having. So we worked into this agreement to clarify which agency entity did what. And in some cases, because recreation was being done more by the city, than our youth development funds, correct? Were used to support those activities.
Okay.
But we were paying for that before, and they were doing that, so we were like duplicating. We were trying to
Okay.
get more streamlined and efficient in between both the city and community education.
And when I look at the amount of money that we spend, if I needed to duplicate those same programs, I could not do it for that amount of money and reach that many students.
It's a good bang for our buck, Tammy?
It is,
All
very
right.
much so.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, is it
That was a
just-
great question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'll move to approve the memorandum of understanding.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Discussion, discussion, discussion. Proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Next up, consider declaration of obsolete and outdated equipment.
Again, this is something that comes to you on a somewhat regular basis when there's a need to declare equipment or computers or other kinds of things outdated or obsolete. In this particular case, this comes from Technology Director Gus Sorbo, and it really is looking at technology equipment. So we look for a formal motion to declare the items listed as outdated or obsolete. And as noted from Mr. Sorbo's memorandum to you, if identified as declaring obsolete or outdated, the equipment would be properly sold, recycled, or disposed of, and by properly sold, that would be at an auction. So we can't just go out and sell it to somebody who wanted to buy it. We'd have to put it out for anybody who was interested to put in a bid for it or a quote for it. So I would recommend your approval of declaring the list of equipment as presented as obsolete and/or outdated.
People ask where, like, is there like a public auction site? Do you know?
There's Seth, you can probably help us out here. We've used an online auction site to,
like K-Bed.
yeah.
Is it K-Bid? Okay.
So you can bid on an individual one, you don't have to buy.
It depends on how they
Right.
put it together.
Yeah.
And realistically, as you probably are aware, if we had to just dispose of without selling some of these, there's a fairly significant cost to that.
Isn't there somewhere in legislation where you gotta give some computers to the prisoners or something like that?
It used to go the other way, but we'd get it from the state hospital, but
Oh, I thought
I
you had to give it and then they would fix them or something.
not aware of that. But
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the list of obsolete equipment,
Old stuff.
old stuff to sell at an auction, or designate the obsolete equipment.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Discussion, discussion, discussion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, consider policy with minor changes or clarifications for approval with one reading.
as you're aware, your policy review protocol allows for one reading for policies that have minor changes, clarifications, or are legislative changes. In this particular case, the Policy Review Committee reviewed Policy 409, Employee Publications, Instructional Materials, Inventions, and Creations. There were some clarifications and grammatical corrections. You can see that the change was the immediately disclose and then assigned to the district as opposed to on the demand of the district. And Policy Review Committee members were involved with those changes, so anybody wants to add anything to that, but pretty straight up.
We did a good grammar review.
Yeah.
For quite a while.
And I think there was a period put in there too, wasn't
Yes.
there? Yeah.
That was the big change.
That was, yeah. Thorough job on this one.
So I recommend you adopt policy 409 as amended.
We are an educational institution, so
Yep.
things should be correct.
Yeah.
It is nice to be able to do that, so therefore I will move the, the policy 409 acceptance.
We have
I'll
a
second.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mhm.
Historically, have there been employees that have developed inventions or things that have been patented?
I'm not aware of that. I don't know if the administrative team members, or you're aware of anybody who's actually patented something that they would have done in school time. I think it's more of a in case.
The answer then is not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little more along the lines of instructional
Yeah.
materials. Curriculum.
There are websites though, aren't there, where they do curriculum sharing?
Mhm.
Teachers do that,
Right.
so it's not necessarily for any profit, but
Right.
they just, and you go and rob each other. so.
Well, but also part of that policy direction for us, and the importance of the policy in another way, is if there is curriculum material that's created as a part of the curriculum development process or by an individual teacher, it remains with the school district. So that we don't have a new teacher coming in and they're like, well, where's our curriculum? And so that's part of the policy direction as well.
All right, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Discussion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Policy 409 has been updated and approved. Item number 10, consider change order authorization.
So Steph and I are gonna tag team on this one. Just as a bit of background, you authorized earlier this year that the superintendent can sign change orders that are $50,000 or less. Change orders that are in excess of $50,000 need to come back to the board for approval. We got ourselves in an unusual situation really just yesterday morning, where there are some things that need to move very quickly to have our construction project stay on target, but we didn't have final numbers yet. So Seth, I'll let you talk about those.
That's one of the things that came up, you can see in the background, is a change order from APX to complete the upgrades on the district office that were not originally in the original plans for Men in the Middle. So a rough estimate on that one, you're looking at 85 to 100,000. What we're looking at for a timeline though is June 2nd, they're gonna start construction. And that is slated to be in there also. That's one of the reasons we're asking for the okay. The other one is state plan review, which is something that just came up. Their change order is anticipated between $60,000 and $75,000 range. This one needs to happen before June 2nd in order to get all the permits issued and get the project moving, keep it on time.
So we didn't have the specific change order amounts, but we were seeking sort of pre-authorization to move forward with those in order for the construction project to start the way they want it to start on June 2nd. And they're gonna hit the ground running on June 2nd.
Yep.
For sure. So, go ahead.
Are we confident these will fall in that range?
Yeah.
Based on what we have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Based on what we have, it's not gonna be significantly more than,
Yeah, right.
it could be 1,000, couple of thousand more or less. This does all fall within our existing budget, so it's not in addition to the project budget.
Correct. It just exceeds the original amount of 50,000.
Yep.
So is the state plan review like going down to the city and getting a permit when you wanna do something to your house?
Might be more complicated
Oh,
than that.
no. That's a piece of cake.
What would you say, Seth, that you guys have talked about, maybe the multiple things that come through on the plan review that we had to change or modify or adjust?
Yeah, some things it's just as simple as just a diameter of a pipe. You know, they're that thorough, which is understandable on the prints. They'll go through, I think this is the third or fourth round that the prints have been submitted. And it takes a little while to go, then they have to go through it And any questions that they come up with comes back. They have to be answered, again, gets submitted, and it just kind of becomes a back and forth on it.
And I think the final approval just occurred like yesterday or the day
Yes.
on Monday.
Monday, I believe.
One example you might want to talk about are the ladders on the roofs.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. Yep. So forever, since the school was built, the middle school, they've never had safety ladders on any of the levels. And so one of the reviewers, state reviewers, came back and said, well, in order to approve it, now we want safety ladders put on there, which was unintended, or we didn't know about. And what we found out is sometimes it comes down to interpretation. One person will interpret it one way, another person will have a different one. We just happened to get one that requires the ladders. We did go give a little bit of pushback, and we got the amount of ladders reduced by 10, which is a significant cost.
So how many did we end up with? It was reduced by 10.
I want to say 12 to 15.
Oh my goodness.
There's a
That's
lot of different levels in that school, different areas, different sides. Yeah.
Oofta. That's a lot of ladders.
It's interesting because when we did the science wing edition, we had to bring the whole building up to code, I thought. So
Right.
I would have thought they would have had to fix that then. I can't believe that's changed since then.
No, again, this is kind of the downside, is it's open to interpretation for whichever reviewer you get.
But the good news is we have the state plan approval.
There you go. It has
now.
moved forward.
And it's cheap.
Yep.
So does that help like with insurance and stuff too? I mean, as far
It
as
is. Yep, that's gonna help significantly. They're gonna be, it's gonna be on there for safety purposes. You can look at when guys now go up and down the roofs. That is an approved safety apparatus to go up and down. So it should have somewhat of a cost savings on the insurance, hopefully.
It's you, glass half full kind of guy.
All right. Would entertain a motion.
also move.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions?
We have the existing $50,000 approval in place. This came back to the board. Is this still is that the right threshold?
Well, that's a good question because when I look back at the high school construction project, there was a three-tier process as opposed to a two-tier. So we're in a two-tier now. 50,000 and less, superintendent can approve the change order. Over 50,000, the board approves. In that particular plan, if it was between 50 and 100,000, the superintendent could approve it with school board chair blessing or approval. I mean, that might be a helpful thing to consider. But I think our ICS folks have said there are typically very few change orders that are in excess of 50,000.
Correct. This is just two of them that came up that have to be done in a timely manner. It would have to be done before the next school board meeting.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm glad that we are made aware
Yep.
and we're in the loop. That's the positive thing. I also don't want to unnecessarily gum up the pace of things.
Slow down.
So, but
I'm with you. We're so early into the process and already have these come up. I don't know.
If we could bring back at your June meeting that three-tier approach, if you'd like to consider it.
I mean, I don't want to make things more complicated. I want to make things easier. So
That would
however
make
you
it
think that
easier.
is.
Yeah, it'd make
Yeah.
it easier.
okay, let's do that.
Okay?
That will make things a lot easier.
So we do have a motion and a second. Good question. Any other discussion? Discussion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, moving on to informational items. Number 1, first reading of revisions to the policy manual. Got a couple.
Yeah, the Policy Review Committee looked at these two policies, Policy 412.1, expense reimbursement for clothing, and is recommending a change to add or personal property damage. So one of the things that we've run into a number of times this year and probably in the past as well is there are staff members who have had personal property damaged, and there isn't any policy that covers a reimbursement for that. And so we would recommend moving forward with adding that personal property damage clause. And again, this is a first reading, so any questions you might have. The field trip policy is designed to try to make things more consistent in terms of the approval process. There were two different levels of approval, but both for the same kind of trip. So the idea being that the teacher, advisor, principal, and superintendent would be in the approval side of things, and that you would receive a report on all field trips from the superintendent or superintendent's designee at least biannually. Before it was annually. So again, this is a first reading. Policy Review Committee members, anything you want to add to either of those?
We're happy to take feedback as you review, if you have questions or thoughts.
I noticed in the field trip one, there was a change under the definition of an extended trip. It used to say something about overnight, and you've crossed out the overnight and replaced it with out of state or out of country. We still have trips within the state where there are overnight stays.
That's a good question, Bill. And the rationale behind that was there are any number of the kinds of trips that are sort of regular trips that occur overnight. Wrestling team goes to the state tournament, or two wrestlers go to the state tournament. That's an overnight trip. So it didn't seem like that would require that extensive approval process. The Spanish group takes kids to the Concordia language villages. Those are overnight trips. I think that what word I'd be looking for is sort of normal course of business. That's not an unusual trip. The one that we might need to think about, I was talking with Mrs. Engeldinger about this earlier. We have out-of-state trips. Well, we do have our choir members that go to the Dorian Festival in Luther College. So it seems like that's similar to the Concordia Language Village. So we may need to think about some way to have language that defines that more clearly, because that would be the kind of thing that there's approval given by the principal, but it's a regular course of activity.
You might want to have something in there about, like, if it's a annual activity or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, we have state teams all the time. It is an annual activity.
Well, that's good.
Well, I'll bet there isn't a year that goes by that we don't have at least an individual in the state
Yeah.
tournament. So
Yeah.
whether they always have to be overnight, I don't know. So then I do have another question on personal property damage.
Yeah.
Are you talking about personal property that's on the school grounds? Or are you talking vandalism that may occur?
Well, we weren't really talking about vandalism that may occur, but it could be beyond the school grounds. You could be on, you could have your personal computer with you for some reason on a field trip and something happens to it. We had an incident where there was a car damage, but that was in one of our school parking lots. So things like that is what we're trying to get at to cover. But I don't think that our intent would be that we would have reimbursement for something that occurs outside of the course of the employee's regular course of duties.
Yeah.
The general statement of policy says that for loss of damage of personal items resulting from direct personal contact with students in the performance of regular duties during assigned working hours. So that's covered.
I just think back when I first started teaching corn.
I know where you're going.
Quite a bit
For
of-
sure. But I think the examples
We don't want to talk about that.
No, no,
the examples we talked about were phones.
phones.
A phone sitting on a desk that gets picked up and smashed, or, yeah.
I like how you just talked right over the top of him, because I didn't even hear what he said, but that's okay.
All right. Well, the policy committee will happily take your feedback and thoughts before our next meeting in a couple of weeks. Ms. Prafke is here to talk about summer programming 2025.
We're going to kind of do
Oh.
a team approach.
Whole
here.
bunch of people are here.
All right, so lots going on, school year, lots going on in the summer. We continue our work here. So I'm going to talk about pre-K 8. Then Annette's going to talk about high school, and Tammy's going to talk about community ed. That works for everyone. All right, so K-8. First off, we have our targeted services program that will be held at North Elementary this year for students in grades K-8 who are invited to the program. And that's a summer school type program funded through our targeted services funding. It's our STARS Academy program. So that will run July 7th through July 31st, 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, 4 hours a day. And so we're in the process of recruiting those students right now, and we're excited to have see what our numbers are going to be. Last year we had a really successful recruitment, had lots of kids there. The transportation is provided within the city of St. Peter and Kasota for those students. Then we have our ESY programs, and those are our special education summer schools. So we'll have our pre-K ECSE program, which will actually be housed at South this year because of the construction, and that will be 2 weeks in June and 1 week in July. So we're, again, getting everything set up here in May for that program. And then our K-8 ESY program will be with targeted services at North this year. So North, we've said before, we kind of teased Mr. Doherty, it's going to be the hub. It is going to actually be the hub. So, yes. And then along with that is the Read and Feed. So super excited. I know I've shared this at previous board meetings, but the Read and Feed is back. After 2 years of not being eligible, the North site once again is eligible and will be for 5 years. So once you're eligible, we can plan on it for 5 years. So we're excited about that. It will run June 4th through August 15th, Monday through Friday. Breakfast and lunch will be served free to students, children ages 1 to 18. So we spread the word yesterday. We got the word out through email to all the staff, and we'll have that posted on social media and those types of things. Adults can purchase meals. So if an adult came with their child, breakfast is $3.10 for adults, and lunch is $5.50. Or we always say, you're welcome to bring a stack lunch if you want to eat with your kids and so on. We'll have reading materials there, games, those types of things. It'll be a supervised setting during that short period of time. So we're very excited about that. We are partnering again with the City of St. Peter in transit, and we'll have 11 identified pickup and drop-off locations so that kids can get a ride to Read and Feed and a ride back home again. And so that cost is covered by the program as well. Again, Read and Feed, it's reimbursable, and so it's and Megan, you correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no impact on the O1. We're a self-sustaining program. So, right, Megan? There you go. That's what I wanted to see, was that thumbs up. All right, so then I'll pass it on to Annette.
Yeah, the high school credit recovery summer program starts on June 9th and goes through every weekday through the 27th, other than the 19th of June. We are able to run 3 sessions a day of from different content areas. So if a student is needing to pick up a credit in a couple of areas, they're able to do that. So thank you to those teachers. We have English, math, science, and social studies this summer.
Very exciting.
And if you've had a chance to see our summer brochure, you know we have a lot of activities to keep kids busy all summer. Just wanted to highlight a few of those things. Our Summer Saints Overtime program will operate from June 9th through August 15th, housed at North Elementary. And we are full, so we have some students on a waiting list. Also, the Spark Mobile Art program will resume. It will be meeting in local neighborhoods. It's a free program with art activities for children in preschool age all the way up through middle school. Art teacher Kelly Nyhammer is hosting an Artastic Adventures in June. She'll have 3 different sections. There will be a section for kindergarten and first grade, one for second through fourth grade students, and then finishing up for students grades 5 through 8. Kids in grades 2 through 8 can learn about robotics in a program called Eureka Engineering, and they can also compete in drone racing through a different program. We have Drama Kids, which is replacing the now out of business Prairie Fire Theater that we had for so many years. Drama Kids is providing a fun theater experience for students ages 7 to 14. This year's play is called The Claw, and it's based on the arcade game, if you remember, with the claw where you can grab the toys. So the theme is what happens to stuffed animals when an out-of-order claw suddenly starts working again. So I think it'll be a really fun play. Kids can also pursue some arts and crafts programs, and they can learn to cook. We have one of our cooking programs is hosted by our FACS teacher. It's called Future Foodies, where kids will be there all day long. In the morning, they will make a snack, they'll make lunch for themselves, and then they'll also prepare a dish that they can bring home that evening to contribute to the meal with their families. Additionally, in July, incoming 6th and 7th graders can get a jump start on band lessons with Dave Haw. And like I said, there's a lot of other things listed in our brochure. We have classes at South, at the high school, and also at North. So we're just trying to fit in wherever there's space.
And they'll eat at the reading feed when
That's
they're
correct.
At Saints Overtime, right?
Correct.
So, you know, it's interesting, sometimes that, I've heard the comment, well, schools are closed down over the summer. I don't think so. A lot of things, a lot of positive things going on.
Sure.
The, like you say, the brochure is just a treasure trove of fun activities, and to be 11 years old again. But anyway, and somewhere in materials, I think it probably had to do with the joint agreement between Rec and Leisure and Community Ed. There was a short statement that said if for some reason the Community Ed office would be relocated, there could be some, as I read it, there could be some challenges in continuing to do a joint brochure. The joint brochure I find very valuable. It's really nice to have one document. Could you expand on that just a bit? That would be a problem.
Sure. In this past year, we as a district were looking at some budget things, and one of the things that was discussed was the possibility of moving Community Ed out of this building. For right now, we're able to stay, but if that were to happen, there might be some things that are hard for us to do in combination with the recreation department. And so it was looked at, let's put this clause in here to allow us some leeway to make decisions based upon our locations.
And it certainly does no harm to have the clause there, but
Right.
hopefully we can continue to do the joint ventures. Thank you.
The agreement for the lease space at, here at the community center for a community education program is up, I think, in September or October, somewhere in there.
I think you're right.
It would come back as a 2-year lease agreement. There have been no discussions this year about moving.
We're thrilled to be in the building.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Move on to the reports. Building principals. Stay right there, please.
start with early childhood. This time of the year, a lot of field trips, a lot of outdoor play when the weather is nice, just getting kids out for those types of experiences. We always have our caterpillars, that life cycle, and that butterfly release, which is a big deal every year. It's just so fascinating, and kids love that, especially if someone lands on them. It's pretty special. What I did want to report specifically on is our vehicle fair. We held our vehicle fair the second week in March, my goodness. This is a 5 o'clock meeting and I'm still tired. In May.
It's better than the slips I've had lately.
Yes.
Agreed.
This is the second year we've held it in our early childhood parking lot, and it has been a true success. So exciting. We were able to empty that parking lot by the end of the school day, have our vehicles aligned on the outside and the inside of that. Folks come in, they park down below, they can use the playground, they can sit on the hill. We sell pizza, they can have a picnic. We sell things at very reasonable cost so families can eat for $1 a slice of pizza. So that's pretty affordable for folks. Super excited. We gave out almost 250 cars, just to little Matchbox cars or Hot Wheels this year. That's been our highest number yet. So we were at 246. That doesn't include babies. That doesn't include parents and grandparents, etc. So we had a huge crowd. It was a beautiful night. We did have to reschedule, so it was our rain date, but it was a beautiful night and truly a success. Really want to thank our community partners who provide those vehicles for that fair. And we'll post on social media all of them. I don't want to name some and forget some, but just really appreciative. And kids and adults alike just enjoy that so much. This year was the first time we've had a little mishap, a little fender bender in the parking lot between two emergency vehicles, but
But they were all ready.
already there.
that's right. And
Were there.
one was the ambulance, one was the city police car, so the insurances should be talking quite smoothly. But that was more of a excitement for the adults than it was for the kids. But anyway, it was truly delightful night, and we hope to continue those in the future as well. So really a successful vehicle fair.
Very good. Well, greetings from North Elementary. That was a busy night, by the way. We had incoming second grade open house that evening, and many parents are like, we need to get to the vehicle fair. So out the door they went. Or they had to check out the action with the emergency fender benders. Well, North had, we had our spring concert last week. And thank you, Mrs. Engeldinger, for allowing us to go up to the PAC. It's very nice. We did fill the place. I think I roughly estimated about 1,700 audience members in the course of about an hour and a half through there. So that's phenomenal. That's a lot of people coming to visit, but it's also some problematic with parking and people flowing in and out. And there's certainly, everybody once the students are up there performing, like it's all good. But it's just getting in and out and the logistics of that. So we're still, we love being up there and having a cozy place to sit and reflecting on years past when it had 4 concerts at North, like a morning, afternoon, and it was 90 degrees that week. That the North Gym would have been 115 degrees, and it would have been pretty miserable. So really appreciate being able to perform up there. This week, next week, a lot of learning on the fly, on the run. We have second graders going to the pickle barn this week, and teams experiencing like a life skill at the pickle barn, so that's super fun. Fourth grade's going to Farm America tomorrow, and I think the weather's supposed to be good. Third grade already went to the Science Museum, so kind of I think our Bridges math curriculum poses this well. It's like May is a different kind of learning. It's like exploring, creating, developing. That's kind of what field trips are that way. Thank you. Field day next week, staff challenge, student challenge, a lot of parents volunteering, dunk tank. But I do want to bring attention, we're having a 9 o'clock dedication on field day to our MJ Hammock Forest, which is in the courtyard there at North. I don't know if you've driven by it lately, you've probably seen a bunch of 6x6 posts in the woods, kind of in the courtyard. And hammocks have been out there. Nick, our media para, has been working with student council to get those up every morning, and then classes go out there. But all those hammocks were donated, and it goes to Mark John Brackey, who passed away last year as one of our third graders. His family moved to Mississippi last year, and they're all coming up for the dedication. Yeah, they're very excited. And then the other MJ is Mr. Johnson. So our second grade teacher, Mr. Johnson, passed away a couple years ago unexpectedly. And so some of his family members might be there as well. So we're gonna have all the kids out there. There's some students that were in MJ's homeroom who are speaking about MJ, and his family's gonna share some things, and yeah, a nice little placard. So we're excited about that, and then we'll do the field day thing. And then Wednesday next week will be our 4th grade send-off. We'll get them ready to send them on to 5th grade at the middle school. So we do kind of a nice picture slideshow and memory, give some awards and stuff on Wednesday. So that's North.
Thank you, Mr. Doherty. We're hopping and bopping at the middle school. Last week, May 13th, we hosted our incoming 4th grade orientation. Students learned a little bit about the middle school, expectations, went over schedules, and then they took a self-guided tour. And the way that typically works, it's refreshing for parents because the 4th grade teachers prior to that come and tour the building with Miss Dozy. I think a lot of new first-time parents are a little nervous, and then once they see their child leading them through this tour, they're like, oh, okay, this will be okay. So a really productive night. We traditionally host a second, more immersive orientation called Jumpstart, second week of August. We'll be unable to do that this year due to the construction. So instead, our 5th grade teachers are going to incorporate those activities into the first 2 days of school. So they'll still get that experience just a little bit later. This Friday, our 5th graders will go to the Minnesota Zoo. It's an annual trip. That's kind of the capstone to an interdisciplinary unit between ELA and science, where students are learning about adaptations and habitats, doing research, writing papers. And then, if I may, just provide a quick update on the Mend the Middle and our end-of-the-year calendar at middle school and EC. So a reminder that our last day of school is May 28th. That allows May 29th to be our teacher work day for the middle school. Paraprofessionals are still contracted to work that day, so they'll start the packing process on the 29th. The 30th then becomes teacher packing day. A reminder, our teachers are responsible for packing all of the materials in our phase 1 classrooms, and then a moving crew will then take those boxes and furniture to various spaces throughout the building. So Seth has been a huge help coordinating those efforts. Some stuff will be moved, for the summer to different locations in the building. Other things will need to be moved from our building to north for summer programs. So a lot of coordination there. So thank you to everybody who's a part of that. And then lastly, you may have noticed the hill adjacent to the pool is all muddy right now. They are starting to dig into that hill to prepare to put footings in for a very large chiller that will chill the building. And then I said lastly, but this is actually the last thing I want to share, so I apologize for that. The end of the year, for me anyway, is just this constant checklist, last teacher evaluation, last Monday, all these things just as you're preparing to make sure that you've got everything checked off your list. And this year has been a little bit more, oh my gosh, it's the last. Last Monday was the last Monday that I will ever supervise a 5th grade lunch. And I never thought I'd be sad about that. But it hit me, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is real. So bittersweet, very sad to leave the middle school, kind of, but super excited for the next step. So thank you all for trusting me with the next step.
The cafeteria is right down
I know, I'll be there every day. I love that place.
You'll have time. There'll be plenty of time.
Now, we've heard you say that over and over.
If you're not busy.
Yep, we're always invited. I just want to highlight our girls track team won the Minnesota Class AA True Team State Championship last weekend, which was a huge accomplishment. So we're looking forward to seeing how they perform in the next couple weeks too. I haven't heard how tennis did yet today, but our tennis team is playing today and tomorrow for singles and doubles. I can report on that next time. Hopefully we will have a lot moving on to state. We had our senior awards night afternoon on Sunday, and I just want to point out that not including any of the miscellaneous scholarships, which are rather large, our Dollars for Scholars group. Kids got up to there was just over $70,000 given away by that organization. So that's an impressive amount, thanks to that group and the fundraising that they do. An update on our Minnesota transfer curriculum kids. We were placing bets on how many kids we thought would sign up for this first cohort coming through. And so it was anywhere between 5, I'm not going to say who was thinking there might only be 5 kids who would be interested in this cohort, and like 20. We had over 30 kids sign up and commit to that Minnesota transfer curriculum who are 9th graders going into 10th grade. So you'll not be surprised that Ethan Harbitz is one of them. I think he'll be able to handle it. But there are a lot of great students like him who hopefully will complete that program. And with graduation coming up, I just wanted to highlight our graduation rate from last year was 94.32, and that's just over 10% higher than the state rate. So we're very proud of that. That takes a lot of work, not just on getting kids through classes and credit recovery, but on attendance, mental health, and we've really started focusing on those in recent years, especially since COVID. So we're proud to get that back up there in the 90s. It always feels weird to not say 100, like to be proud of anything less than 100 when it comes to the graduation rate, but we're very proud of it. And then congratulations to the districts. We had distinguished award honorees, Nick Rosa and Dr. Olson, were honored at last week's staff recognition banquet. So I know several of you were there, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Dr. Olson.
2 things. The first, at your spot, there is a flyer from the Minnesota School Boards Association that just has information about upcoming events in July, August, and September. So take a look at that, and obviously if you're interested in any of those things, you can work with Kimberly to get registered, and we'll go from there. I also want to mention, well, Seth and I, again, will kind of tag team on this. We're slated to start like June 2nd again on our MVED update project. And you can talk about specifics, but I'm just going to share one thing. Seth has put out quotes and et cetera, and we actually came in, we were projecting a cost of $347,000, and we came in at a cost of $315,000. So we're pleased with that. So Seth, why don't you talk about what's going to happen and how it's going to happen?
Yeah. So starting June 2nd, it might take a little bit for the actual construction to start. We started last year with some, they're called FRP panels that are created so they cannot be destroyed for the most part. It was decided by the district and MVED to finish off the rest of the hallways and classrooms in that. And that should alleviate a lot of the repairs out there. So that's one of them. We're going to be doing a refresh, repainting the whole thing because it is kind of dingy, it's old, and we want to bring it up to a more pleasant color so it doesn't feel like a prison in there. And then the third part is we're going to be redoing all the floors. Going to be going to a luxury vinyl planking or tile versus VCT, and we're going to a Flotex type carpet in all the rooms. So it's going to get a pretty major facelift this spring, or this summer actually already. Yep. And so when all the students come back, hopefully they're going to come back and it's going to feel a lot different in there, and it should be a lot happier in there is what the goal is to be.
Anybody have any questions? Great. Thanks.
Yep.
Anything else, Dr. Olson?
No, I'm good.
Board members around the table.
Had the opportunity to go to the band concert and the choir concert at the high school. I was so impressed by the talent in our students, and excellent. And got a chance to go to the roll-in for Landon the other day, which I appreciated being able to go to. So.
Just very briefly, it's the time of year when, as everybody knows, there's millions of things going on. Just listening to all the things that are transpiring, it's really impressive. Also, somewhat fatiguing. I try to get to as many things as I can, but I ran out of days at 7 per week. So but again, it's just innumerable, the number of activities for the students and for parents and whatever. So anyway, my compliments to the staff for assembling all that, and hang in there another couple weeks, and then you get a half-hour break and you start for the summer.
Not too much. I'm just super excited for graduation. I think it's my favorite thing to do on the school board, for sure. Also kind of watching a little bit and curious how it will affect us here at St. Peter with the pension kind of changing for the teachers and them being able to potentially retire a little bit earlier with not quite as big of a penalty, I guess, is the best way to describe it. And curious if that will shift some teachers to maybe retiring a little bit earlier. And, you know, it's always a little bit cheaper to have a new teacher versus somebody that's been here for a while. So
We had a discussion with our Big South superintendents about that today. And just for everybody's record, it's the TRA pension reform moves back to a rule of 90, age 60 and 30 years of experience. So it's sort of a modification to the previous rule of 90. And it's not a full retirement, but it's less of a penalty than in the past. So I think the thinking is there's very real possibility that it could open up the door to some retirements.
not quite as good as it was before. We have to add for the tier 2 teachers, just to be clear.
Yeah.
But it is definitely a step in the right direction, so I'm good.
Are we gonna do committee reports too yet, so I don't have to talk about those yet? I guess Annette stole some of my thunder there with the girls' track team, true team. And I would like to thank Kimberly and all her helpers, if she had any, for the program last Wednesday. It was very good. Yeah. Congratulate those that retired and those that got their 25-year certificate. As far as the legislature goes, your guess is as good as mine. About the only thing I would say with any certainty, so this will be wrong, but there's talk that they want to be done by Friday, but I don't think there's any way that that's going to happen, so. Hopefully by June 1st. So.
I can provide an update to the tennis group. We had several participants, singles and doubles configurations, and I believe we have one doubles group that is continuing on to play on Thursday. And I think everyone else was eliminated today. And if they get through Thursday, then they would go to state. So that's kind of where we're at.
Just that we had our third NAPAC graduation ceremony, and that went over very well, and it was well covered in the highlights, so.
All right. Any additional committee updates from any of our committees that didn't have a chance to share stuff during the meeting?
Well, I'm assuming that everyone's reading the minutes, so the business committee, we are mainly focusing on the budget at this time and the things that are happening, so but it's been very informative being on that committee, because they're not talking just about the fiscal year budget, but also 5-year capital improvements and shifting funds. Dr. Olson calls it his big bucket plan, where he takes line items and moves them around within categories. You can put a little more pressure, I think, on the building principals to make sure that they're managing their funds, because they're getting line items and have to account to those along the way. And as far as the future, he's identified some potential future options he calls levers that's available to the committee and to recommend to the board as far as adjustments going into fiscal year 28 and reaching their goals. So if you're interested in that stuff, feel free to contact Dr. Olson. As far as the HR committee, Dr. Olson informed me today that the meetings with the individual contract individuals are continuing and going well. I'd like to thank Megan for her work on helping us meet the goals that we set in our closed meeting as far as what we're gonna try to accomplish in those areas. So she did a lot of work to illustrate what's there, so forth. Along with that, we're trying to make sure that the language in all those individual agreements is consistent. So trying to get everyone same retirement qualifications, same retirement benefits, etc. So hopefully June meeting, we'll have them all for you to approve.
Great.
You will have 19 agreements on June 18th.
Yeah.
I just add one thing, Bill alluded to that. One of the changes that Dr. Olson and Megan implemented was a budget, capital budget by building. So things are established in advance, what kind of dollar amounts are available to work with. So if there's requests, it's not extraneous from what's already been allocated or been budgeted. So it makes it more, probably a little bit more streamlined and also easier to follow.
Well, from the education committee, we have the minutes, but I'm just looking to see like what we could share. And that was that we couldn't talk about MCA tests because Dr. Olson told us they were embargoed. So that was pretty brief conversation. And he told us that we don't have a lot of options, or we're exploring further options for the Brock Bend location. And Dr. Graff shared with us his continued work on the culturally responsive rubric. He's busy with that. And the Oshawa Learning Academy. We are exploring staffing issues out there. I feel kind of bad because it's like those are all like really important things that deserve more than just a bullet point. So it's like hard to even bring it up like that. But I guess just for the public to kind of know what we're talking about.
Yeah, and we would report that we, Jana Sikora has had some success in interviewing and recommending, will be recommending candidates for approval as teachers at the Oshawa Learning Academy.
Awesome.
So we were concerned about that. We feel good about some quality candidates who have applied.
Oh, that's good news.
Policy committee, you've seen our work.
Yeah.
Every meeting. Yeah. All right.
Careful what you volunteer.
Yeah. All right, we've got upcoming meetings, Business Committee, Policy Review, and Education Committee in the first, or June 11th and 12th, and then the regular school board meeting back here on Wednesday, June 18th.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.